What is up, investors? Jason here. So there's a couple of big things going on with Bitcoin. One, we have Bitcoin at the price of $20,000 right now. So this price is very serious for Bitcoin because it needs to hold support around this price. Because back in 2017, in December 2017, Bitcoin had reached an all-time high at that time that was around this price where we saw a lot of resistance on the price and then we saw it quickly crash. And then Bitcoin then retested this price again in December of 2020 after it had done its halving, and then after it had broken through that resistance, it had quickly gone to a rally, which then took us to our two previous all-time highs. Now what we're seeing is Bitcoin is holding this price at support, and hopefully it is able to continue holding onto it and not falling much below it, because then things could possibly get a lot more serious for Bitcoin, and who knows where it's going to go from there. The other thing is we have the Bitcoin miners that are currently at risk of selling off a lot of the Bitcoin that they are holding. We also have some whales that are buying some large quantities of Bitcoin. We're talking billions of dollars of Bitcoin. So we're going to be covering all this and do a little bit of a technical analysis. So as we do, if you don't mind, please do me a huge favor. Please be sure to smash, destroy, annihilate, or gently press that like button to help me out with the algorithm. Help spread the content to more people that might find it interesting. And subscribe if you have not already. Let's get to it. So once Bitcoin falls through a major area of support, the price can fall dramatically, like we had seen recently when the price of Bitcoin had fallen through that $28,000 support. When it had fallen through that, then it triggered a lot of selling off. Now, I know that the selling off had to do with ETFs that were selling out of Bitcoin and different large institutions that were holding a lot of Bitcoin, but keep in mind that if Bitcoin is to fall below the $20,000 price, then we can also see another dramatic drop like we had seen before. Now, what could happen if Bitcoin is going to stay around at this range here, then what it's going to do is it's going to need at some point have to break out of this falling wedge that it's been on. So what it's going to need to do is it's going to need to break out of this wedge by August, and that's just a prediction. This is just what I'm thinking that it's going to do. It's going to need to break out of this wedge by August. If not, then that's when we can see the price of Bitcoin falling below this. I mean, of course, it can fall below this at any time, but if it doesn't do it by August, then we could easily be seeing the price of Bitcoin falling even more down below this $20,000 support, where it is managing to hold at some level where it's at right now. So if it's not able to do that, then I think it's going to get a lot more scarce. But I do think that we could possibly be seeing a Bitcoin rally by the third week of July. And that's just going off of some past history that I've seen with Bitcoin, or we've all seen with Bitcoin, I should say, where in the last time that we had seen Bitcoin start to move up was back in July of 2021, where it went to its next all-time high after being at a price that had bottomed out at around $28,000. So if that's going to be the same thing, then possibly by the third week of July, we could be seeing the same thing happen again, and hopefully we can see Bitcoin going on a little bit of rally. But would it ever go back to these all-time highs anytime soon? I wouldn't think so. The market's a lot too bearish right now. There's a lot of things that were driving the market back in 2021, so it's going to be a much different story, but it would be nice to see Bitcoin go up above the level that it's currently at. I'm also being very optimistic. I don't like to be so fearful because I'm very bullish on crypto in general. Now let's look at some history here with Bitcoin. So in July of 2016, Bitcoin had a halving, which is when the amount of Bitcoin that is being mined is cut in half. Then in the next year, in 2017, at the third quarter, Bitcoin then reached an all-time high at that time, which was at the level that Bitcoin currently is holding support at. And then we saw the price of Bitcoin then drop dramatically after reaching that all-time high. And we didn't see it break through that price again until after it had its next halving in May of 2020, when it had seen a little bit of resistance at that same price, but then it broke through it, and then it quickly rallied all the way up, taking us to a new all-time high in the third quarter of 2021. So just like we had seen in the third quarter of the next year after its halving in 2016, we saw the same thing happen after its halving in 2020. By the third quarter of the next year, it reached an all-time high, and then the price quickly then dropped dramatically. So the same thing is happening right now as it had happened back then. Now, one of the big problems with Bitcoin right now is that the hash rate, the difficulty to mine more Bitcoin, is still becoming increasingly harder, even though the price of Bitcoin is going down. So these lower prices of mining Bitcoin and the hash rate still becoming harder, the ability to mine more Bitcoin is of course becoming a lot more expensive than it was when the price of Bitcoin was a lot more. It's actually becoming a bit ridiculous when you also think about it. So a company that is a publicly traded company that mines Bitcoin as their sole source of business, Marathon Digital, ticker symbol MARA. Now they're at risk of possibly selling off a lot of Bitcoin. Now they have been selling some Bitcoin, but they're also at risk of selling even more Bitcoin. And the thing here is that they're not able to raise more money by selling more shares of their stock to do it so that way, because the price of their shares are so cheap in comparison to where they were at back in November and December of 2021. So the price of their stock has dropped down so massively since then that it doesn't make sense to raise money that route, and it doesn't really make sense to raise money by increasing more in debt, because that's also not going to make anybody happy. So with all the Bitcoin that they do have on hand, well, of course, they could sell more Bitcoin. That would make sense. That's the easiest route to go for a company that doesn't generate revenues by cash transactions. Only growth in their company as far as assets is mining more Bitcoin. Now to look at Marathon Digital stock and look at where Marathon Digital stock was back in November of 2021. Their stock was above $80 a share, and right now their stock is $6.75. So just to give you an idea of how much this stock has dropped in comparison to what the price of Bitcoin has gone down. It's a much more significant drop for this Bitcoin miner stock, and the same for all the other Bitcoin miners out there like Riot Blockchain, HUD-8 Mining, Hive Blockchain, Argo Blockchain, etc. There is just a massive drop in the price of these publicly traded Bitcoin miners. Now, on a positive note, as far as the price of Bitcoin being much lower, this has created an opportunity for whales to scoop up more Bitcoin at a much lower price. According to this article by Zai Crypto, buying the dip, Bitcoin will scoop up $2.4 billion worth of Bitcoin in days as holdings hit record high. 5 addresses holding a combined 776,000 Bitcoin in what appears to be a steady accumulation spree, according to this article. According to data from BitInfo Charts, the largest Bitcoin whale is a Binance cold wallet with 252,597 Bitcoin, and is closely followed by Bitfinex with 168,010 Bitcoin. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy has a holding of over 129,000 Bitcoin after its last purchase of $191 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, in the past, we have seen some pretty massive Bitcoin corrections that have seen the price of Bitcoin go down as much as 80+% from where it was at its highs. So it's a real possibility that we could see the price of Bitcoin dropping down lower than it even is right now if it was to go into a correction that could be more than 80%. But hopefully that is not the case. Hopefully we've already seen the bottom of Bitcoin, but nobody knows exactly when that is. Of course, there is a lot of risk involved with investing, and nothing that I talk about here is meant to be any sort of financial advice. I'm just here sharing my own opinions and sharing some information that is out there. So anyways, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. So is there anybody out there that is purchasing more Bitcoin right now at these lower prices, taking advantage of these lower prices? Or is there anybody out there that is absolutely not going to be purchasing any more Bitcoin because the price has already gone down so much lower and you're fearful that maybe we can see it drop even more? I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions about that. But anyways, as far as myself, I'm buying this dip, but I'm not buying too heavy. I'm just averaging in to hopefully, if the price is to drop down more, I can continue buying then as well. But anyways, with that being said, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. New content coming out all the time. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I'll see you all in the next one coming very soon.